Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 knockdown rule on Triller is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Cinco de Mario Lopez. 'Tis the season.
Hey, you know what? That's one of your better monikers right there. I know it was already created, but good timing for you to use it. Korean Cosell. Quick shout out to Smoking Tim Frazier, Buffalo Knuckles, and
Tino on the edits. We have so much to talk about. Let's get right into it. Last weekend, Saturday night, from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, your new unified junior lightweight champion of the world. He now has the WBC and WBO belts around his waist. The precocious one, Shakur Stevenson, with a 12-round whitewash over Oscar Valdez, 117-110, and 2 scores at 118-109. Mario, who beats this guy?
Listen, first of all, I was really happy that this fight was just on ESPN. They didn't try to do pay-per-view, and you had 2 young undefeated champions. Gosh, if we could just get more of this on a consistent basis. But so I really appreciated that. And the kid was not overwhelmed by the moment. He looked the part and he delivered. Valdez is a hell of a fighter. Obviously world champion, undefeated, battle tested. He made my guy look like an amateur in there at points. Now I give him props and respect because he never stopped fighting, never stopped coming forward, was resilient and as tough as they come, but was just befuddled and could not close the distance enough to be effective. At times, his double right was landing, but whenever he tried that big left hook, Shakur was out of there. And I wasn't in love with the high peekaboo style. He needed to summon Marcos Maidana or Orlando Salido. Now, granted, both those guys a little, I would say a little heavier handed, but that sort of bob and weave, loopy punches, not afraid to get hit, kind of pressure mentality. And I said it before on last week's show, and he didn't. So when he was trying to stay in that mid-range, that's all she wrote. There were pockets of success, but moments, literally moments. And I think the highest punch output that he landed was, I think, 15 punches, which, by the way, is a record against Shakur, who I recently learned this last week and was named after Tupac Shakur. Fun fact. But he had moments, but there was just... There's levels, and Shakur's at another one. I was already a fan of the kid, and he just showed me what a special fighter he is. And he looks to be, and I may be a little too crazy here in saying, like this once-in-a-generation kind of fighter for this weight class, because to me, he seems more talented than anyone at 130 and 135 right now. Now, granted, it may be minus a Lomachenko, right? But the way he looked big in there too, Kim. The way he measures his distance is so great, in his timing and the way he sets up his punches and his counters. He's very composed. He's a very mature fighter, not a lot of wasted motion, very efficient with his punches. And I think he's not given enough credit for being as strong as he is. That's why I think Valdez was a little reluctant to kind of go in there, even a little recklessly, because at one point I thought he might go for broke. But what was coming back, that big counter left that he has, I think was causing him a lot of problems. But he delivered, looked the part. It was a beautiful display of boxing. And what I thought would happen happened. I thought Valdez might make it interesting at some points. He didn't even get to that point.
That Shakur shot him up. And the one thing about Shakur Stevenson,
you're a fool.
He is so fuel efficient.
Yeah.
And he's the type of boxer, he can go through a car wash. He'd be waxed, but he wouldn't get wet. And you're right about the strength, and I've said this before. There are certain guys that hit you blind. They dissuade you from getting your hands going. You're right. There were times when the lead straight right of Valdez would land, but it was never in volume. It was never in combination. There's a term that I use when you face guys like a Shakur Stevenson. You have to hit through the contact. In other words, you might get picked apart. You might get your head snapped back. You might get hit blind, but you have to keep coming, and there has to be an erosion with volume. There was never any true volume against Shakur Stevenson.
It's got to be an avalanche of punches.
And you talk about the mid-range. When you're at that spacing, it's the Bermuda Triangle. You're lost. You have no sense or no shot at really touching him consistently. Nobody gauges distance better than Shakur Stevenson.
There were some people out there that were comparing him to a young Mayweather. Now, a young Mayweather, 130, when he was pretty boy, he was knocking people out.
Yes,
and
that's the difference.
Guys, that was the difference. I would say I don't think the comparison is outrageous. I would say he's a little pretty boy and a little money. He's pretty money.
Yeah.
He's pretty money. He's like in the middle of Mayweather, if that makes any sense.
Right. And look, he's not a hard hitter, but he hits hard enough where you're not going in there waiting recklessly.
Right.
And look, I'm hearing people criticizing Eddie Reynoso. Excuse me. I don't think it could have been Emmanuel Stewart. It could have been Ray Arcel. It could have been Gil Clancy. At a certain point, Oscar Valdez is who he is, and it wasn't going to be multifaceted or hard enough hitting with one shot to make a difference. Look, we talked about it last week. We were very blunt. As much as we like Oscar Valdez, nobody outside his immediate family and maybe Frank Espinoza and Eddie Reynoso were giving him much of a shot. Sometimes the chalk is the truth. There's a reason why this fight went from 3.5 to 1 and was bet all the way up close to 7 to 1. Shakur is that good. Think about it. He's only about, 23 years old. He has less than 20 fights. He's a two-time world champion, and he's unified. And I believe that if you match him up with the other belt holders at 130, he's a clear 10 to 1 favorite over the guy from Japan or Robert Gutierrez. And then at 135, the thing that I like about Shakur as a boxer, I think he's more disciplined and he is more committed. He's more focused than anyone out there. All these other guys have little issues, okay? And I'm not saying Shakur's been perfect, but when it comes to boxing, he is a savant, and he truly believes he's headed not just for elite status, because he's going to be in that pound-for-pound list for the next 10 years. He really thinks he's going to be an all-time great.
He looks the part so far. Again, I was so impressed, not only with all his skill set, but the way he was so composed for such a young guy. And it got me thinking, if he, it seems inevitable if he wants to clear out that division, but if he even were to even jump up, I think I would actually favor him in a lot of the fights.
I don't disagree.
Am I outrageous to think that?
Look, there's some talented 135ers, but one thing that does translate, everyone says, well, he doesn't have a lot of power. Okay, it hasn't stopped him yet. Look, certain guys are sledgehammers. Other guys are scalpels. They conduct surgery on you and they cut you up. Shakur is a scalpel. But one thing that always translates, if you want to say power or his lack thereof is going to move up with him, so is his ability not to get hit in his ring generalship. Right. Look, his style is not for everyone. He may never be in a fight of the year. He may never be a transcendent star. But in terms of boxing IQ, this young man from Newark, he's Einstein. I don't know who really masters him until he gets to maybe 140 and 147 when he's the bigger, stronger, rangier guys. Fight that I'd like to see in 2 years, and again, putting aside the politics.
Tank Davis.
Yes, absolutely. That fight, Newark against Baltimore on the East Coast, rent out a stadium.
It's a great fight.
That's a great fight.
I'd love that
because I think Tank's actually underrated boxing-wise, but he's never faced anyone as technically as sound as Stevenson.
He's got the power to keep him honest.
Yes.
I don't know if he throws enough, though. Tank's a one-shot guy, quick with a lot of power, and it's coming quick, and it's nice, beautiful counters. But I would think the Teofimo Lopez that fought 135 against Lomachenko, that would be someone that maybe would give Shakur, because he's got the power. He's got the speed, obviously, in the performance he put in with Lomachenko. That would be someone that would be problems, I think, for him. Outside of that, Tank, I think, makes it interesting. I still think Shakur might be a little bit too much just with his fluidity, and he might just outbox him, but I'd love to see it.
Yeah, only thing that marred this night was interesting. At the post-fight press conference, very celebratory, a glorious night for Shakur Stevenson. I'm next in line to ask a question, and I was going to ask, if you could choose anyone right now, who would you face next? All of a sudden, behind us at the door, a commotion started. There was some noise and some jostling. It turned out it involved Shakur Stevenson's mother, who they didn't let in because she didn't have a press pass. And Shakur kept it real. He just dropped the belts in the middle of the press conference, and all of a sudden, a melee took place outside the media center at the MGM Grand. It took a good 10 to 15 minutes to calm that down. There had to be at least a dozen security guards, some armed officers. This thing got dangerous. I want to give props to Tim Desert Secret Service Bradley, because Shakur wanted a walkout bout. He wanted to go right into the mix, and Tim said, no, get out of here. And he just said, you're not getting involved. That thing was kind of scary.
Did you ever ask your question?
No, in fact, it's funny because Top Rank gave me their mic with the mic flag, and so I rushed out there. They closed the door so nobody could get back in, and I'm knocking on the door because I have a mic. And I'm trying to, and finally I saw someone from the MGM Grand press team, and I say, hey guys, if you ever get back in, can you give this back to Top Rank?
So funny. Oh, by the way, congrats to Shakur, not just on winning, but my guy won a belt and proposed.
Yes.
At the same
So
night.
he got a ring. Got a ring,
He
too.
got a ring, but it was so funny because he proposed, and then as soon as he finished proposing, he was like, all right, next question. Yeah. I thought it was the funniest thing. I don't know
Business is business. Got to separate the two. Mario, a loaded undercard in terms of prospects for top rank. I really like their young stable. Keyshawn, just give him the damn fight. Davis stoppage in 6 rounds over Esteban Sanchez. I'll say it again. The way I felt about Jaron Boots Ennis 3.5, 4 years ago, I feel that way about Davis. Sparkling personality and unbelievable skill set. Another kid with a lot of ambition. Got to speak to him, spend some time with him this past weekend. He has it. Also, Raymond Murataya, look out for him. Trained by Robert Garcia, blew out Jeremy Hill in 3 rounds. Has an unbelievable presence and command inside that ring. Power in both hands. I believe he will be a young contender within the next 6 to 12 months at 135. And then the young kid, the butcher, Abdullah Mason. He cuts people up. He beat Luciano Ramos in 1. Got to meet him. Very well-mannered young man. Quicksilver southpaw. He has all the tools. He's only 18 years old out of Cleveland, Ohio. Keep an eye out for him. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away, it was ladies' night at the Madison Square Garden in New York on the DAZN for the undisputed female lightweight championship of the world. Katie Taylor with a close 10-round decision over Amanda Serrano. Your scores, 96-93, then 96-94 for Serrano, and then 97-93 for Taylor.
Kimster, I got to say, fight of the weekend.
Did we give this 80s?
Bro, the
ladies
80s. I was so pleasantly surprised. You know what I was surprised about, too? The energy in the atmosphere in the building. I was so happy to see that.
19,000 plus.
Yes, for a ladies' fight. Weren't you shocked to see that? I didn't think I'd ever see that, to be quite honest. You get spoiled seeing the ladies get a lot of love and their flowers, as they say, over at UFC. But it was a raucous crowd in there. It was buzzing. I was like, all right, this is cool. This might be a game changer. And the fight delivered. You know, ironically, I saw it with my mom. My mom's a big fight fan. She happened to be visiting this weekend, and we saw the fight together. She loved the fight. Mom had Serrano winning. Here's the thing. A tip of the hat to both of the ladies. They went in there and started throwing leather from the get. I thought Serrano landed the more severe telling blows in the fight and had Taylor hurt a couple times throughout the fight. Obviously in the big 5th round. I think later on was it the 9th or the 10th. But then Taylor, she did do a beautiful job of some nice counter punching. I really wish it was a draw, to be honest. I really wish it was a draw. I don't think it was a robbery. The people that I talked to, and like my mom, she knows about the fight. She liked Serrano in it. I kind of had it closer to a draw. I tell you, it was difficult to score because of the 2-minute rounds. I found that a little difficult to score. Now, be that as it may, I wasn't really scoring, to be quite honest. But at the end, when I saw, I would have been happy with a draw. I would have leaned towards Serrano, but I don't think by all means it was a robbery. But it was a hell of a fight. Both ladies left it all on the line. Like I said, I thought Serrano did beautiful body work. And she was in those, you know, I thought she let the foot off the gas a little bit towards the end. And Taylor was, again, I think boxed well. And the event itself was just I think just a huge
It wasn't
success.
a home run. It was a grand slam for
It
women's
really
boxing.
was. It really was. I was so happy, so pleasantly surprised.
Mario, I thought the first 3 rounds were really the key how you judged it. If you gave the first 3 to Taylor based on her boxing, then mathematically it became very difficult for Serrano. And this is the problem.
Did you give the first 3, though?
I did. I thought she actually boxed well and turned Serrano.
See, I thought too, but then I thought there was certain I thought there was rounds that could have gone either way too.
But it's interesting. Serrano being the quote-unquote lighter fighter moving up in weight,
right?
She was the more authoritative puncher.
Yes.
And so then 8, 9, and 10, Taylor may have done just enough to sneak it out.
Yeah.
I thought it was an excellent fight. Loved the last 15 minutes.
You can see why people think Serrano.
Well, look, it's one of those fights. If you're Puerto Rican or Boricua, you think it's a robbery. If you're Irish, you think Katie Taylor won 7-3. That's the sense that I'm getting on Twitter. With that said, if you were the commissioner of boxing, Mr. Lopez, would you decree that women's fights are now 3-minute rounds, or would you make championship bouts 12 rounds instead of 10?
Well, I asked myself, would it limit the sort of action we just saw?
Right, because it creates a quicker tempo, those 120 seconds.
I think the championship, I'd rather go, But is it insulting that it's not 3 rounds for the ladies? I wonder how the ladies feel about it.
Some of them are mixed. Some of them actually say, if you make us work 33% more, we want more money. So then it becomes an economic factor.
Huh.
See, and now look, if it was 3-minute rounds, you could argue that Serrano may have scored a 5th-round knockout. It changes things, absolutely.
You're right. It does change things. Ooh, it's interesting. I think we go 3-minute rounds.
The best thing
I think we go 3-minute rounds. Wouldn't you agree?
Interesting. Now, would you keep it at 10-round championship bouts?
No. You got to have parity.
The best thing about this fight is that it was such a good fight that organically there should be a rematch. I asked Eddie Hearn last week on a Zoom conference call, is there a rematch clause? And he said no, but if there's a demand for it, which I believe there is, there should be Taylor Serrano
in Ireland.
Yes. With that, you could actually do that in a stadium.
Yeah.
You really could.
That's crazy.
And by the way, okay, so in a rematch, who do you favor given the fact now Serrano may say, you know what, she's the bigger girl, but I'm the harder puncher. Who has the advantage coming into the second? I actually lean towards Serrano.
So do I. I think she knows that she can walk through that fire, and she knows that she can hurt her. So you become a little more confident. You're not as reluctant to want to close that distance. And she was doing great work to the body. I think she concentrates more on that.
Yeah.
I think her trainer will have her focus a little bit more on that. Step on the gas a little sooner. And I actually think if she pushes the gas a little sooner, she has a good chance of actually getting her out of there.
And if there's a fight where you begin the revolution of the 3-minute rounds for female boxing, the rematch may be the starting point for that.
Yep.
Also on this card, the women's super middleweight title is on the line, and congratulations to Franchon Cruz DAZN with a 10-round decision over Ellen Sederus. And then Liam Smith was simply too big at 154 for Jesse Vargas, wearing him down, stopping him in 10. Now, Mario, we look ahead this Saturday from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on the DAZN pay-per-view. The WBA light heavyweight title is on the line. Dmitry Bivol takes on Canelo Alvarez. Mario, I think it's very simple. Out of all the styles that were available between 68 and 75, all the available belt holders and champions, to Canelo's credit, I think he chose the toughest style.
Listen, another 80 is so close.
Another one.
Right there.
Oh, okay. Here we
Because
go.
I'm telling you, he didn't
Yeah,
have to take this fight. He didn't have to do it. Let's be on beat next time.
Yeah, let's be on beat. Yeah, okay.
He didn't have to take this fight. My guy's over here fighting for legacy and for greatness and just to make history. And he chose the absolute worst style for him. He's all wrong for us, baby. That's not a guy we should be facing. I really think. Well, I'm not saying he's not. He can't beat him. I'm just saying it's the most complicated look that you could have. He's young. He's in his prime. He's a naturally bigger guy. He's fluid, quick on his feet. The movement's always kind of given him issues by the time, although he's so great at cutting off the ring, but quick with his hands, and he darts in and out. I keep referencing the first Kovalev fight. Had he not caught him in the 10th, I see a lot of that happening. However, the thing about Canelo is he gets better every time you see him too. He's at the peak of all his powers right now. It's hard to see him losing. Not to mention his confidence is at an all-time high. Until you see it,
you don't believe it.
You're
it's
exactly
one of those
right.
things.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things. But if there's anyone that can pull it off, it would be a Dmitry Bivol. Now, does Dmitry Bivol have the wherewithal to keep himself composed and not get overwhelmed by the moment? Because that can get draining too. Come 5th, 6th round after all your energy and it's a whole nother deal. Canelo lives in that space. So who knows how he reacts? And we haven't seen Bivol have too much success on the inside. Once Canelo gets on the inside, those ribs could get busted up and it could be all she wrote. But it's very, or he could keep him at bay and outbox him. I like Canelo in this only because, again, it's hard for me to see him lose, but it is far from a walk in the park.
Speaking of Dmitry Bivol, last month I went to the Joel Diaz training camp to speak to him. There's a piece of our conversation with the man that's challenging Canelo Alvarez this weekend. Dimitri, May 7th. Take a look at that poster right there.
Yeah.
Did you ever think it was actually going to happen?
Yeah,
Are you
of course.
surprised?
Not now. When I first time hear about it, of course surprised, but now it's normal.
When Vadim Kornilov and your management said, hey, Dimitri, we actually made the fight, what was your initial first reaction?
It wasn't like we have a fight today, but we talk about it many months. Maybe we will fight. Canelo is thinking what we what fight he will take, maybe Charles or maybe you. And when I heard 100%, I just was ready to hear it.
Dmitry, you've been around the world boxing. You're a world champion. You've been on big networks. You've been on big stages. Do you think this is more pressure, though, fighting Canelo?
I don't think about this, to be honest. I just think about May 7, I should fight and don't think about this stuff.
Yeah, so
It doesn't matter,
fight's a fight.
Just fight against another fighter.
Yeah, it's interesting because I believe, and along with other people like Tim Bradley, we asked him on the show. He said, "Who's the best light heavyweight? Who's the toughest matchup for Canelo?" And he said, "You." Do you agree with that? That your style is very difficult for Canelo's?
Yes. Thank you for Tim Bradley. I just believe I could win this fight. I could because I'm light heavyweight champion. I'm in boxing since I remember myself. Why I couldn't? Of course I could win. I just need good preparation and believe in my skills. To be focused and уверен, confidence and be confident.
Mario, you talk about the intangibles, and you're right. I've seen this with other fighters. They're championship fighters. They've been on TV. They've made some money. But when you get to that upper echelon pay-per-view stage, when you're facing a Pacquiao, a De La Hoya, a Mayweather, and now a Canelo, guys who think they're ready, all of a sudden they get to that grand arrival on Tuesday, and there's more media than they've ever seen. They're like, I've seen guys kind of freeze up.
Right.
I get the sense that Bivol, given his background and his personality, he's a pretty unassuming guy. I think he's ready for this.
He isn't an assuming guy, and I sort of liken him to like a Khabib in the sense that, they come from certain parts of the world. They've seen a lot. They're just not going to get intimidated or be overwhelmed, and I think he's just going to be in there and be poker face and be all business. Certain American fighters who don't necessarily have dealt with those certain hardships like those guys, they're not as hardened. They tend to get a little overwhelmed by that moment. But this guy, I don't think that'll be a factor. I think it's going to come down to more if he can keep Canelo at bay, not allow him to close the distance,
Mario,
and work on the inside.
Nothing's judging. Hey, look, we know what Bivol's going to do. You're right. He's not an inside knife fighter. He's a jouster. Now, my question is, if he's able to control rounds boxing, will he actually get them? That is a factor. We have to be honest about it. It's been very difficult to beat Canelo in somewhat relative close fights on the scorecards. My belief is every once in a while, Bivol has to enforce his natural size and zing a hard right hand.
Well, he's got to do that just to get his respect.
Just can't peck and peck and peck and poke.
Sure.
He's got to strike hard. But again, to keep this in perspective, since the rematch with Gennady Golovkin in 2018, Canelo has faced Rocky Fielding, Daniel Jacobs, Sergey Kovalev, Callum Smith, Avni Yildirim, Billy Joe Saunders, and then Caleb Plant.
Look at that resume, man.
But with all that said, I believe Bivol is the most daunting challenge he has faced since that Golovkin rematch.
No question. Absolutely.
So there you have it. Saturday night, I think, to me, this is a 50-50.
So who do you like?
Well,
50-50, huh?
I do. I think it's that close.
I think it's really close, too. Like I said, I still favor Canelo only because I kind of like when Pacquiao was in his prime. Until I see it happen, I don't know if I can believe it.
And realistically, it's already 2-0 Canelo. And there are times when Bivol is going to have to realize, with a minute to go in a round, hey, I've outboxed him, but it's close enough that I may not get the round. So there's a little bit of a risk assessment. And I wonder, look, I'm not saying he's chinny, but he hasn't been quite the same guy since Joe Smith struck him in the 10th round of their fight. Now,
well, that's another thing I was about to. Okay, Joe Smith's a heavy-handed guy. I would venture to say hits harder than Canelo, really, but punch for
natural light
heavyweight. So if he's able, I would assume that would give him a little more confidence to be in there because of that.
Yes.
Being in there with a heavy-handed guy. But let's see how much damage that did, and if it shook his psyche a little bit.
Right, and moving on to news and notes here, PBC has announced that as part of the Gervonta Tank Rolly Romero pay-per-view card, it'll be headlined in terms of the co-feature, Erislan de Lara taking on Spike O'Sullivan. Last week in Vegas, I was told July 15th on ESPN for the Pachanga Casino, not the arena. Joette Gonzalez will take on Isaac Is My Dog Bay. And then also, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'd love to see it. But the WBC has ordered Josh Taylor, if he stays at 140, he has to fight Jose Zepeda. I like that fight. That's dangerous.
Although I don't see him staying at 140.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
Especially with that fight.
Right.
So there you have it. All right, we come back on the 3 knockdown rule on Triller with Steve Kim and Mario Lopez. We wrap it up with Ask Mario and Final Flurries. And we're back on the 3 knockdown rule on Triller. We go to the Ask Mario segment of this fine program. Here's one from Matt. Who is going to be the biggest star in the next 5 years? Jaron Ennis, Tank Davis, or Stevenson? I'd lean Ennis or Davis only because Stevenson isn't as power-orientated yet.
I disagree. I
What?
think Shakur
Really?
is going to be because he has it all. And he's a good-looking kid. He's got that $1 million smile, big old dimples. You know how I feel about
You and
tough
your
guys
dimples.
with dimples.
You and your dimple
listen,
bias.
Listen, look at the stars in the sport. Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, De La Hoya, all good-looking guys.
Ryan Garcia.
Right, exactly. They're all good-looking guys. So it's that when you've got Matt and Idol looks and you can throw bombs, that's a unicorn. It's rare. That's a unicorn.
I don't look. Shakur Stevenson
understand?
could be the best boxer the next dozen years.
He's
Doesn't
also
mean-
a really handsome kid.
right, but sometimes your fights have to be exciting once in a while. That's what Jaron Ennis brings. Tank Davis brings. Fireworks. Doesn't that matter? Entertainment value.
It does, but when it comes to marketing and promoting, when you see that kid's face on posters and stuff, that's going to transcend the sport. You're going to get women and you're going to get people that are not boxers just to see this kid with a pretty face throw down because you don't see it. You just don't see it that often.
Yeah,
And that's what happens. You don't think that was a big part of Ali because he could fight? He was happy as a handsome guy, or Sugar Ray or Oscar because they were handsome guys. It's rare. If you're able to fight and you happen to be good looking, then
Top Rank has a bit
I'm
of-
talking about being a star. I'm talking about the best boxing. But
Top
being
Rank
star.
has a bit of a conundrum. Who do you match him with? In my view, you know what would be a good fight? Because this guy would just throw first, think later. Emmanuel Navarrete. I know he's moving up in weight.
That's a fun fight.
But you have to make sure that Shakur doesn't fight another counterpuncher or boxer. Then there's not going to be much of an entertainment value there. I want to face him with guys that are going to charge forward, let their hands go, and then take your chances.
Sure.
Cannot think with him. You cannot play chess with Bobby Fischer, as I like to say. Jaron Ennis has the advantage of being in a bigger division, 47. He'll eventually be at 54. He'll be at 160. And once people begin to know his personality, I think he will really resonate.
He's a good fighter. He's a great fighter, actually. I like him a lot. But your question was who I think is going to be a bigger star. I think he's got the best
upside
criteria and upside to be a star.
Okay. Here's one from the only Sanch, good friend of the show. Number 1, any issue with Shakur watching the clock in rounds 11 and 12? And number 2, why do fighters like Shakur alienate fans with antics of the last minute of round 12? Seems like he could have won the Mexican fans with over 30 or 40 seconds of toe-to-toe action to end the fight.
That's the one thing I was going to say. If this kid, who's his manager?
James Prince.
Okay. If James is really smart about it, because you don't want to alienate anyone, any sort of audience. He gave Valdez his respect too, but I think if he would have turned it up a little bit, like he said, maybe give him a little bit more love, give a shout out to the fans right there. You got to, put your political hat on and kind of play the part a little bit. I think he'll be embraced.
Doesn't the black hat sell? Work for Mayweather.
He doesn't need to. Mayweather wasn't a good-looking kid like this kid. This kid, I'm telling you, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. This kid could be loved if he was. He's got a very friendly smile, nice smile. He could be loved. He should go more the Sugar Ray Leonard, De La Hoya route.
Right.
That's the route he needs to go down. He doesn't need to go down the villainous route.
I think it's unfair to criticize Shakur for how he handled the last 15 seconds of a fight. You dominated 35 minutes and 45 seconds. That's like criticizing a football team for taking a knee up by 24 in the last series.
I'm not giving him criticism.
Right.
There's no criticism. I'm just saying, that would have been nice to give it a little. He has a point, but I'm not criticizing. But I'm saying in general, I think he should start to think about his approach and the way he's going to market himself.
Well, to be fair, there have been some stuff outside the ring that hasn't looked good. Shakur still has plenty of time to rehabilitate
Right,
himself.
that's why he's a young kid,
The stuff
exactly.
that happened at the look, I get it. It's your mom. But my view is lay back. Don't mar the night because it's not a good look no matter what anyone says. Here's one from M. Nero Nava. 2 questions. Kimster, ask that shirtless strutting gym rat Mario. Is Andre Ward just a hater? His miscellaneous clips talking about Canelo over the years. Why does he think he is always talking smack? And number 2, this is the important question. Where can I get the Kids Incorporated live bootlegs?
Hey, you know what? If you find them, send them to me. I've been wanting to get them to show my kids because they've been asking about it. So
They're not on YouTube? Everything's on YouTube.
There's some clips. There's some clips, but it's hard to find full episodes for some reasons. It's a good show to bring back, by the way.
Doug Fisher has made this point that Andre Ward, as good as he was, and he's a Hall of Famer, accomplished as he was, I think he has a point when he says he looks at Canelo and says, I could have beat you. I was better than you. But why are you so much a bigger star, making a lot more money?
That's the point. That's the thing. I think you're exactly right. He was very talented, great boxer, Olympian, the whole deal. But there's difference between guys who are talented and skilled and stars, right? And I think, I think there is a little envy when you look at a guy like a Canelo, and he's such a big star. But look, he's made a nice transition into being a broadcaster, so he's got life afterwards, and he's doing a good job. So whether it's controversial or not, he remains a presence in the sport.
Yes.
He should be happy about that.
Absolutely. Here's one from Eric Marrero, big Miami Hurricane fan. Is 135 the best division in all of combat, including UFC? 8 active champions at 135 in the UFC, not including Marlon Vera, Rob Font, and Sean O'Malley. 135 in boxing is the most exciting division, with Haney, Cruz, Davis, Kambosos, Shakur, and Valdez eventually moving up. Interesting point.
I think an argument could be made. It is pretty exciting on both UFC and in boxing.
You know, Haney, Kambosos, this is going to be interesting. Let's say
I'm excited for that.
Haney beats Kambosos in Australia. I think he has to do it twice because of the rematch clause. If Shakur in a year moves up to 35 and has to face Haney, who do you favor?
I don't think Haney's there in a year.
You're right. He's probably moving up.
I think he's bursting at the seams and he's moving up, to be quite honest.
It's interesting that my guy didn't mention Ryan Garcia. I think I saw somewhere on Twitter where he says that his next fight is July 16th. Like I said, tip of the cap, because if you're going to come back that soon and set yourself up for another fight, I'm going to give him credit for that, because based on that last performance, he's not ready. I'm still surprised. You still think Mercito Hesta is too daunting of a task for Ryan Garcia?
I think he needs that fight. I don't know if they'll allow him to fight him, is what I'm saying.
Really?
I don't think so. Who would be a tougher out? Mercito Hesta or Isaac Cruz?
Isaac Cruz. Isaac Cruz, because he doesn't know how to lose yet, and he's a more powerful guy.
That's who he's been calling out too. So I'd like to see that fight.
Okay,
next.
You know what? No. But in place of that, let's say there is no Isaac Cruz.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see it. I'm saying, what do you think, if it's going to happen or not? Yeah, both of those I like a lot.
Okay, and finally, moving on. Good friend, really good blog here. RS, thoughts of RS. The WBA gets deserved brickbats. Brickbats, by the way, for its silliness and 10 champions per division. But the WBC is worse in its own way. 12-round title fights, which they created. 2-minute rounds for women, franchise champions, open scoring, and bridgerweights. All WBC quote-unquote innovations. Why does the WBC get off the hook compared to its counterpart? I'll tell you why. The WBA is kind of the shadowy organization that's, I believe, in Venezuela. WBC is more local, and Mauricio Suleiman does a great job of PR. Goes to a lot of fights. He's a very friendly guy.
You know him
hosts
more than
dinner.
all the other guys, of course.
Very personable. Even when you disagree and rip him, he'll say, "Oh, well, let me explain, my friend." And you're like, "Oh, I get it."
He is a real nice guy.
But however, a lot of the things, like the 12-round championship fights, was done as a direct result of the Dooku Kim Boom Boom Mancini fight. They felt as though, look, you're going into dangerous ground. I think now it's accepted 12-round fights are enough.
Also, 12-round fights fit into a perfect hour.
48 minutes of action, including the 1-minute rest.
Yeah, by the time you introduce them and stuff, it's an hour.
The biggest criticism I have of the WBC in recent years, and I've told this to Mauricio, I don't like the franchise champion. Part of the responsibility, in my view, of any belt holder is that you should be forced to fight a mandatory. When you insulate any champion, and say, well, that guy's kind of dangerous. He's the mandatory. You're the I hate that. And that was what made us a direct result because of the fractured relationship that happened with Canelo. Remember when Canelo dumped the BC because Golovkin somehow became his de facto mandatory, and then he dumped it. And there were points where Canelo would tell Golden Boy, Mauricio Suleiman's on the credential list. No, he's not. And he just bounced him. Suleiman was like, oh, my God, the biggest Mexican star, and I'm not in business with them, and I'm not even allowed at his fights. That's why he created the franchise. But in my view, if you're Mario Lopez, multi-million-dollar fighter, if you're insulated from fighting Clubber Lang because he's too dangerous and it doesn't make economic sense,
I have no business being champion.
hate that.
Of course.
I hate that. And
agree
I'm
with
glad
you.
Devin Haney has said, I'm going to do the Riddick Bro with that franchise. Or that interim, or the whole email. But I think Devin's taken way too much heat for that. Because if you're in Devin Haney's situation, who wouldn't have accepted the WBC championship designation? That's my biggest problem with the WBC.
I agree with you.
Mario, moving on to final flurries. Man, your son is on the wrestling circuit. I like that.
You know, these kids are beasts these days, man. They wrestle all year round. So, yeah, he wrestles and does jujitsu, and he also does skateboarding. I don't know if you know, but I give him a little break, and he does it. It's good for his balance.
Dan Gable and Tony Hawk.
You know, it's funny because the last week he had took third, and in two divisions. Then I took third, and he took second. And he was kind of reluctant to go again this next week. And I said, look, sometimes, because he didn't know if he was going to wrestle a certain kid again. I go, it doesn't matter. So this is what it's all. These are the lessons that you're going to learn. I go, this doesn't matter about winning. You just got to do your best and try working on the things that you were struggling with last time. All right, I'm going to be proud of you no matter what. So you always got to reassure.
Do you show him Vision Quest before tournaments?
I haven't showed him yet because he's not going to. It's a little because a lot of parts there's not as much wrestling for a little kid.
Oh, that's right. There's some body to body contact. You're right about that.
Later on though, that's another good one to remake.
Oh,
by the way.
Madonna had a great soundtrack.
That was her first. That was her first appearance in a film.
That's when she was still American.
Crazy for You.
Yeah.
Remember the song? Right
now
there?
she's just crazy.
Journey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How ironic. Anyway, he went there. He kicked butt this week, man. Double gold.
Oh, I like
throwing
that.
suplexes. So I'm really proud of him. He's gonna wrestle in Vegas.
When?
This weekend.
Oh, so wait a minute. I got a question though. Is there a time you're gonna say, okay, take a little break?
I ask him if he wants to take a break and stuff, and he likes it. He has fun because his friends go, and he's going to camps this summer. Because believe me, my biggest fear is that he gets burnt out. So I always ask him, and he's liking it right now. So as long as he's liking it, that's why I don't let him go to all the practices. I make him go skateboarding. I make him mix it up.
And you don't let him cut weight, which I think is key.
And he started talking about it too. This other kid, I go, no. He wrestles 57, so I don't make him cut. And he's a little under actually, but I don't make him cut even a pound.
Mario, every big time amateur boxer that I thought was going to be a 5-time world champion that flamed out and was a disappointment, they all tell me in private. They said, Steve, by the time I got to the pros, after cutting weight for 15 years of my life or 10 years and missing proms, not being a normal kid, because I was actually burnt out by the time I was a pro.
That's exactly
You got to keep these kids psychologically fresh and not turn it into a job so early.
No,
that is so key.
No, you're exactly right. We make it fun. When we go to Vegas, I'm taking all the kids to Sugar Factory. They're having fun. He likes competing. He likes, they give away like championship belts now.
Yeah.
Medals, championship belts. This next one in Vegas, they're giving away a sword and a helmet. It's like Game of Thrones. It's crazy. I never got that when I was a kid.
Man, then you guys should go to Medieval Times for dinner. It'll fit in perfectly.
Yeah, so that's been going well. One thing I wanted to bring up along these lines, we talked about it briefly last week when Ngannou got into
Fury.
With Fury, right? And they're talking. Obviously, he wants that big payday, and Usman was beefing with Canelo over Twitter and all these guys because unfortunately, as talented as they are and great athletes, they're not getting the payday these fighters are. And Canelo's been he won the first 2 rounds with the 1-2
He's become a master counter tweeter.
He has. His English is great too, but he was killing Usman, and all these guys want to get this big payday. But it helped. It made me think, and it put it in perspective. Canelo signed a 3-fight deal where he's making a minimum of $160 million guaranteed. Now, obviously, he's the biggest star in the sport. $160 million, 3 fights. You know what the total was for all the fighters at UFC last year? The whole?
I would guess 120.
$190 million.
Ooh.
For every single fighter on all the, and they have fights every week. Okay, and this is all the pay-per-views and where the Conor McGregor's, all of them. Isn't that amazing? that Canelo basically makes more, and if he chooses to fight one more, he'll surpass all the fighters in the last year. So no wonder all the MMA guys want to come over.
How do you
and
think
have these
Dana
novelty
White feels
events.
about his biggest clients, biggest names doing this, though? Because I don't think it's a great look for the UFC brand.
I don't think it's a great look, but they look at themselves more like the NFL.
The
and
shield,
and
the
have
logo.
more of a next man up. Oh, you don't want to be here? Okay, next man up. Sort of mentality. Great for the fans, not so great for the fighters.
Mario, this past weekend was the NFL draft. It's amazing. When I was growing up, it was on a weekday, early in the morning. I get to watch 2 draft choices before we get to school. Now it's a full-blown TV show.
How many rounds do they go?
Well, they go 1 round on Thursday. They go 2 to 3 on Friday, and then it's rapid fire on Saturday. So it's a full-blown 3-day TV show. But I almost
too
think,
much. It's too much.
I almost think it's too much because I'm looking at this going, cut out the fluff. I get it. You want it, but the NFL is brilliant in a sense that they're making their league the biggest day in the middle of April. It's amazing.
One of the standouts for me, I don't know if you saw it. Do you remember Ed Marinaro?
Right.
From Hill Street Blues?
Is he still on the stage?
My guy thought he was up there accepting the Hall of Fame award and was talking forever. I've never seen a lady come out and said, "Excuse me, but you have to
gotta
start
get going
reading."
here, yeah.
Dude, that was so funny. I felt so bad for him. That was so bad.
I think 3 other teams made their picks by the time Marinaro
I was
made
embarrassed.
his selection. And, by the way, it's a great TV show, but it's funny. I'm at that point now. I'm going to do what I do. I was in my hotel room watching it, but I just like now going to the website and say, all right, who picked who?
Exactly.
Mario.
Speaking of great TV shows, though, I just finished Better Call Saul, the last season. Great. Fantastic. As great as Breaking Bad was, and I think that's actually one of the best shows ever on TV, the prequel, I think, lives up to it. man.
Really?
What's your wife think?
She does. She's crazy. She gave up on that. I DVR cheated on her, and she never forgave me. But it's really, really good, really high quality, and it's him, dealing how he became Saul Goodman because he was Jimmy McGill and dealing with the cartel. So I segued from that right into the new season of Ozark, and I feel like I'm watching essentially almost the same show because it's Jason Bateman dealing with the cartel. First episode was good too of Ozark. I don't want to spoil it if you didn't see it. You don't watch that either, huh?
No, I don't.
Dude, what does it matter with you?
know what I do watch, though?
You don't watch Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, or Ozark.
I saw 30 for 30, and you're going to be stunned. It was the one on Greg Norman, the great white shark. It was on golf, and it talked about how many times he came close, and I don't want to say choked, but had disappointing finishes at the Masters, a U.S. Open.
Sounds like you're talking about Phil Mickelson.
No. Well, he was the original
Mickelson.
Phil, and I enjoyed it. I don't really like golf documentaries, but if it's 30 for 30, they could do one on marbles. They could do one on backgammon. I'd watch it. I couldn't but help but feel bad. And this guy's made hundreds of millions. You have to throw him a GoFundMe account.
Yeah.
But some of these excruciating defeats where he's up by 6 strokes going into the Masters, which he never won, and he played the worst round of golf. You got to watch it because he actually had never watched the last round of the 96 Masters, which is one of the biggest, I hate to say it, chokes in the history of sports.
Letdowns.
And he watched it. I mean, he actually
What was it? He just got in his own head, or
Yes, he just fell apart. And look, I don't know a lot of golf stories. That's one I do remember because it was a national story. And he really had like the talent of Tiger Woods, didn't have that finishing kick. The one thing, I don't like Tiger, just like you, but Tiger, when it came to the last round, was an animal. He had that finishing kick. Craig Norman found ways to lose tournaments, and he came off extremely likable. But I actually enjoyed it. That actually gets a recommended viewing. Mario, this weekend I'm going back to Vegas for the Canelo fight.
Look at
You're going to
you.
be sipping mint juleps, I hear.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be at the Canelo fight, which is killing me. I'm going to be at the Kentucky Derby. For work, it's on NBC, and I'm an NBC guy. There's worse places to be.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've been a few times. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because it's a big party.
Now, is
the
your
whole
wife
time.
going and going to be wearing those fancy
She's going
hats?
with the hat.
Oh, I love
gotta
that.
wear. I'm wearing like I'm going to be looking like Matlock in a seersucker suit.
Oh, little suspenders maybe?
Yeah, not suspenders, fool.
Okay.
But with the suit that Matlock used to wear. So those will be fun picks. And hopefully it doesn't rain. It has rained the last couple of times. What we should pick? Oh, we didn't have time to pick the horses. We should have picked the horses.
I'm going to go with Spectacular Bid and
One Eye Ojo, isn't there like One Eye Ojo? You remember some of them? That's good.
and Man of War
You're so stupid.
and Mr. Ed.
So
That's it.
the last time I was at Kentucky Derby when there was a big fight. I think it was a Mayweather fight. I can't remember which one. I made friends with someone. I had to go to their house to go watch it. It's tough to find it, so I'm gonna try
That's
to
what I'm
find
gonna
the
ask
fight.
you. This fight is on the DAZN pay-per-view. Now I believe the cable
So I guess
outlets.
I could do it on my phone, right?
I don't know. I think you can, but I think this pay-per-view, they're actually going to distribute like a regular pay-per-view on your cable or satellite networks.
But
But
that was the whole point of DAZN. You don't have to do pay-per-views. What happened?
things happen. Things change. It's
Dang,
like new Coke.
shady.
New Coke was supposed to be new. That was new for about 3 months. What happened to that? It got classic
I want
Coke.
Elon Musk new Coke.
Yeah, see,
Put the cocaine back in.
I would buy a case of that stuff. But it would actually be an interesting experiment to see if you can go to a bar or any other establishment, because I'm telling you again, if it comes to UFC, you could find multiple places that show every single one of their cards. When it comes to boxing, if you can't find the Canelo fight, who's the biggest star in North America, in a meaningful fight, in Louisville, I don't know if it's a boxing city, but that's where Cassius Clay was born.
That's where Cassius Clay. I've seen the museum.
Oh, you have?
I've been there, yeah, because I've been to the Kentucky Derby before. Yeah, it's kind of cool. The Louisville Lip.
All right, well,
he's from there, so hopefully I'll be able to check it out. If not, I'm gonna have to catch it.
Yeah,
the
and if
next
someone
day.
out there sees Mario and you're ordering the fight, invite him over.
If you're in the Louisville area,
Yeah, please
let me know
call
what's up.
Mario, give him his address, DM me. We're going to make this happen. We got a show to do next week. All right. Well, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Smokin' Tim Frazier, Justin Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino
Tino.
on the edits. Goodbye, everybody.